Hello everyone and welcome to this video going over the changes made in patch 2.6. First, let's take a look at the new killer and survivor and what they brought to us in the Demise of the Faithful chapter. The new killer is the Plague, and her power is Vile Purge. You hold down your killer power button to activate her power and charge it up. When you release the power button, she will let out a stream of bile in the direction she is facing. You can control where the stream goes as she vomits by moving your camera around. If you want to use the power before the full charge, you can let go earlier to release a stream that doesn't last for as long. You can cancel her power by just clicking the attack button at any point during the charge, so you do not have to commit to using her power. You can tell when she is charging her power because she will hold her head slightly upwards. Her base movement speed is 4.6 meters per second, but while charging, her movement speed is 3.6 meters per second. Then, when she is holding a full charge, her movement speed is 4.4 meters per second. Her stream of bile infects nearly every object it touches. She can infect lockers, generators, windows, pallets, chests, items, totems, and exit gate control panels for 35 seconds. If a survivor touches any of these infected objects, they will become sick. If her stream of bile hits a survivor, they will become sick. If they are already sick, they will become even sicker and get closer to becoming fully infected. The killer can't tell how close a survivor is to being fully infected, just if they are sick or not. But on the survivor's side, if you watch the profiles in the bottom left corner, you will see this circle around them that slowly fills up as they get closer to being fully infected. Survivors build sickness by performing any actions, such as doing generators, healing, searching chests, running, vaulting objects, cleansing totems, and anything else like that. Just any action will usually make you build up sickness. So make sure to watch your profile to check how sick you are and how long you have left until you become fully infected, because becoming fully infected at the wrong time can be deadly. Why is this? Well, when a survivor becomes fully infected, they become injured if they aren't already, and have the broken status effect applied to them. This means that they can no longer be healed to full while fully infected. Additionally, they will occasionally vomit, and anything they touch becomes infected as if the plague spewed bile on it. Survivors can infect everything the plague can. To show you guys how this works, here is a fully infected survivor turning everything green. If a non-infected survivor touches something an infected survivor touches, they will become infected as well. If an infected survivor heals a non-infected survivor, or a survivor heals a slugged, fully infected survivor, the healthy survivor will become sick. Saving a fully infected survivor will also make the rescuer sick if they aren't already. So just in general, any interaction with a fully infected survivor will result in getting other survivors sick as well. Infected survivors can cure their illness. There are 5 fountains around the map, and their auras will be revealed to survivors whenever they get sick. You do not need to be fully infected to see the fountain auras or to cure yourself. You can be cured at any level of infection. All you have to do is go up to one of these fountains and cleanse yourself. When you cleanse yourself, all your sickness will be removed and you will be healed to full. Be aware that only one survivor can use a fountain at a time, since after one survivor uses it, the fountain becomes corrupted and only the killer can interact with it. When survivors cleanse themselves at a fountain, the killer will hear this sound. And the fountain's aura will be revealed to them. There is no notification bubble though at the moment. The killer is then able to drink from the corrupted fountain. When she does so, all survivors will hear this sound. And the fountain's aura will be revealed to any infected survivors, because it will now be pure. Drinking from the corrupted fountain empowers the plague's ability for 60 seconds, and turns Vile Purge into Corrupt Purge. She can reset the duration of this empowered ability by drinking from another corrupted fountain. While empowered, she will have this red particle effect around her, and her bile will be red instead of green. This empowered version makes her bile no longer apply infection. Instead, her bile will injure any survivors hit by one health state. She cannot injure a survivor twice with one stream of bile, but she can injure multiple survivors at the same time with one stream of bile. If all pools of devotion become corrupted at the same time, then they will all reset to their cleansed state. When this happens, the plague's power will become empowered and turn into a Corrupt Purge for 60 seconds. Control-wise, her power operates exactly the same as Vile Purge, so survivors should watch out when she is empowered. Her 3 unique perks are Corrupt Intervention, Infectious Fright, and Dark Devotion. Corrupt Intervention. The 3 generators located the furthest from you are blocked by the entity for 80, 100, or 120 seconds at the start of the trial. Survivors cannot repair these generators for the duration. Infectious Fright. Any survivors that are within the killer's terror radius, while another survivor is put into the dying state with your basic attack, will yell and reveal their location to the killer for 4, 5, or 6 seconds. Dark Devotion. You become obsessed with one survivor. Hitting the obsession with your basic attack causes the obsession to emit a 32-meter terror radius for 20 seconds. During that time, your terror radius is reduced to 0. This effect can only be triggered once every 60, 45, or 30 seconds. The obsession will also hear the terror radius they emit for the duration. Now I'm going to read over her add-ons for you guys to see. Black Incense. Survivor auras are revealed to you for 5 seconds when they vomit. Iridescent Seal. Moderately decreased movement speed while holding Corrupt Purge. Tremendously decreased duration of Corrupt Purge. Vile Purge becomes Corrupt Purge every time a generator is completed. Devotee's Amulet. Considerably increases duration of Corrupt Purge. Severed Toe. Considerably increases the rate survivors gain infection from interactions. Vile Emetic. Considerably increases Vile Purge effectiveness. Worship Tablet. Moderately decreases Pool of Devotion activation time. Moderately increases movement speed while holding Corrupt Purge. Ashen Apple. Start trial with 1 pool of devotion corrupted. Slightly increases infection time on objects. Exorcism Amulet. Moderately increases duration of Corrupt Purge. Incensed Ointment. Slightly increases movement speed while charging Vile Purge. Moderately decreases Vile Purge cooldown. Infected Emetic. Moderately increases Vile Purge effectiveness. Rubbing Oil. Moderately increases Vile Purge charge speed. Blessed Apple. Start trial with 1 pool of devotion already corrupted. Emetic Potion. Slightly increases Vile Purge effectiveness. Hematite Seal. Moderately increases infection time on objects. Potent Tincture. Moderately decreases Vile Purge cooldown. Prophylactic Amulet. Slightly increases duration of Corrupt Purge. Healing Salve. Slightly decreases Vile Purge cooldown. Limestone Steel. Slightly increases infection time on objects. Olibanum Incense. Slightly increases movement speed while charging Vile Purge. Prayer Tablet Fragment. Slightly decreases Pool of Devotion activation time. Slightly increases movement speed while holding Corrupt Purge. Now let's take a look at the new survivor, Jane Romero. Her 3 unique perks are Solidarity, Poise, and Head On. Solidarity. While injured, Healing a survivor without using a medkit also heals you at a 40, 45, or 50% conversion rate. Poised. After a generator is completed, you leave no scratch marks for 6, 8, or 10 seconds. And head on. While standing in a locker for 3 seconds, the perk activates. While the perk is activated, performing a rushed action to leave the locker stuns the killer for 3 seconds if they are standing within range. Causes the exhausted status effect for 60, 50, or 40 seconds. Head-on cannot be used while exhausted, and you do not recover from the exhausted status effect while running. And that is it for the killer and survivor. Now I'm going to talk about the new map, which is a variation of the Red Forest called Temple of Purgation. This map has the killer shack on it and a temple in the middle with various themed props. The temple in the center has a special generator that will open some doors in the temple once powered. With that out of the way, now let's take a look at the changes made to the game in this patch. First up, there are some new features. You can now see matchmaking queue times for both killer and survivor. This is shown now because they have adjusted how matchmaking works. The killer no longer instantly makes a lobby. Instead, killers will enter into a queue that looks for 4 survivors. Once the game pairs 4 survivors to 1 killer, the lobby is created. So all survivors will load in at the same time to the killer, since all players are loading in at the same time. Survivors and killers still have the option to leave the lobby they are placed in, if they do not want to do the game. Now I don't have the second feature recorded, but when you start the game, it will ask you to accept the End User License Agreement and Privacy Policy before allowing you to play. If you ever want to revoke your decision, you can now go to the main menu and check this box. They have also updated text in some of the dailies to give you a clearer picture of how close you are to completing them. Many perks were adjusted in this patch, and most of these changes are minor and don't change the perks that much. But instead, they even out the different tiers of the perk to make them more consistent. Either way, I will still go over all the perk changes made, starting off with the killers. Barbecue and Chili has had its other ranks of the perk even out, so instead of revealing survivor auras further than 52, 46, or 40 meters from the hook, it is just now 40 meters from the hook for all tiers. Deerstalker has had its aura reading increased at lower tiers from 16, 24, 36 to 20, 28, 36. Distressing has also had its tiers even out. Instead of getting 50, 75, or 100% more blood points, you will now gain 100% more blood points at all tiers. Fire Up, instead of receiving different action speed bonuses per token gained, it now says, for each generator completed, you gain a 3, 3.5, or 4% stackable buff that will grant a speed bonus. Hex Devour Hope. Now the lower tiers of this perk also have all 3 token effects on it. It is no longer just rank 3 that has the 3 token effects. And then the difference in the tiers now is that at 2 tokens, the perk will grant a 3, 4, or 5% haste buff 10 seconds after hooking a survivor, and the speed buff will be active for 10 seconds. Then at 3 tokens, the exposed status effect will be applied, and then at 5 tokens, the killer can kill survivors by their own hand, for all tiers. You can tell when the speed buff is active by looking in the bottom right corner, because you will see Devour Hope in a blue color. Hex Ruin has also been adjusted at its lower tiers. Instead of only affecting 2, 3, or 4 survivors, it will now always affect all 4 survivors at all tiers. Instead, what the difference will be between the different tiers is that good skill checks will result in a 3, 4, or 5% regression. For Hex Thrill of the Hunt, all tiers will now grant 10% bonus hunting blood points per remaining totem, but the cleansing speeds between the tiers will remain the same. For Iron Grasp, all tiers now have the reduced struggling effect by 75%, but the amount of time for survivors to struggle will remain the same. For Monitor and Abuse, they have added number values to it. Instead of saying slightly, moderately, or considerably increased, it will now say 3, 5, or 10 degrees. Additionally, the Terror Radius modifier on this perk is set to 8 meters for all tiers, instead of 6, 7, or 8. Then Spies from the Shadows got a slight nerf. There is now a 5-second cooldown when the perk triggers, and then the distance has been reduced 20, 28, or 36 meters. As for Thanatophobia, the values are 3, 3.5, and 4%, up to a maximum of 12, 14, or 16%, and that sums up all the killer perk changes. Now let's take a look at the survivor perk changes. First up is Decisive Strike. After being unhooked or unhooking yourself, Decisive Strike will become active and usable for 40, 50, or 60 seconds. While Decisive Strike is active, when grabbed by the killer, succeed a skill check to automatically escape the killer's grasp and stun the killer for 3 seconds. Succeeding or failing the DS skill check will disable the perk, and successfully stunning the killer will result in you becoming the Obsession. Increases your chances of being the Obsession, and the killer can only be obsessed with one survivor at a time. With this new change, this means that after getting off the hook, you must get downed within that 60-second time frame in order to use it. Next up, we have Empathy. Its values have been reworked. It's no longer unlimited at tier 3, but the lower tiers have been buffed. It now works within a range of 64, 96, or 128 meters. Wake Up has also been adjusted because it is no longer unlimited at revealing the aura of the survivor while opening an exit gate. Now it only works up to a distance of 128 meters. For Kindred, it actually got buffed. All survivor auras are shown at all tiers now, and then if the killer is within an 8, 12, or 16 meter range of the hooked survivor, the killer's aura will be revealed to all other survivors. For Live, they have removed the chase condition, so now you can trigger it on rushed vaults regardless if you're in chase or not. Pharmacy has had the reduced audible sound of opening a chest changed to 8 meters for all tiers instead of being only at rank 3. And Will Make It has had its lower tiers buffed because now all tiers have the 100% healing speed bonus. And those are all the perk changes made in this patch. Now to continue on with the other balance changes. There is a new scoring event for stuns caused by perks such as Decisive Strike and Head On. When stunning a killer with these perks, you will get 500 blood points. They reduce the time before a player can heal another player that has recently moved, so they can get started on healing quicker. Survivors and lockers now have the blindness status effect applied to them, which prevents all aura reading from working, even if it's caused by perks. The intensity of the terror radius is now also vertically based, so for the example here you see the killer is on top of ironworks and the heartbeat sounds slightly faint, but when they come down it increases in intensity. There is one change that was not mentioned in the patch notes but they made to the game, and that is, whenever a survivor takes a long fall, they will now scream. Next, we have some emblem changes. Now, all the emblem changes that were made were to killer emblems. This can't be really shown, so I will just talk about it, but basically they are punishing killers that camp even more by deducting more points from their chaser emblem the longer they stay within 16 meters of the hook and no other survivors are nearby. Devout has also been adjusted so that 3 kills is a silver emblem, 4 is gold, and to get iridescent, you need to do 9 or more hook events and sacrifice all 4 survivors. And then the Gatekeeper's formula has been adjusted. Killers earn incremental points based on how few generators have been completed each minute for the first 9 minutes of the match, regardless of how long the match takes. At the end of the match, the killer also gains bonus points based on how few generators have been completed. Note, if the match is over before 9 minutes is up, they they received points for the remaining minutes up to 9, based on how few generators had been completed at the end of the match. And that sums up the emblem changes. Now they did put in some map changes, but there's only one I'm gonna go over because these other changes are very minor and I can't really show them. And that is, they put in a new line of sight check for totem spawn points within 32 meters from a survivor spawn point in an effort to prevent survivors spawning on top of totems. And now let's move on to the ranking changes, which has been heavily adjusted in this patch. Basically what they did is as you get higher in rank, it's harder to pip because the amount of points you need to pip increases. I will show you guys the new requirements here. As you can see for red rank, in order to pip, you must get a minimum of 13 points. Just a reminder for anyone who doesn't know, an iridescent emblem is 4 points towards the pip, a gold is 3, silver is 2, and bronze is 1. So you can see how this will have an impact on ranking up. So you guys can read here all the specifics about how many points you need to earn a pip or a safety pip per ranking bracket. And the rest of the changes made in this patch are just bug fixes and minor map fixes. If you want to take a look at all these changes, I will post a link to the patch notes below. I hope you found this video informative and thanks for watching. If you think this video could help out someone, make sure to share it with them. Feel free to comment below about what you think about the changes made in this patch. As always, good luck out there in the fog, and see ya next time.